What better way for a son and father to bond over than their mutual love for the Dallas Cowboys? Hi, I'm Michael Davis with my dad, Mac. We're a star-studded son and dad duo on the Star-Studded Cowboys Network, powered by Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. And this is Dad and the Boys. And we are back. We had an episode yesterday, and we had to talk about Jake Ferguson's contract. I dropped this article on ffsn.com. If you're listening to us on Fans First Sports Network or watching us on Boom Broadcasting, thank you. But the Dallas Cowboys have signed a player to an extension, but it's not one I imagined. It was Jake Ferguson, our tight end, 4-year, $52 million. And this deal comes with a $12 million sign bonus, $30 million in guaranteed money. And Dad, there are two big takeaways, maybe even three, with this contract. And I wrote about a month or so ago that the Cowboys might be moving off Jake Ferguson because you have Luke Schoonmaker in the building who performed really well when Jake Ferguson was out with injury. You have Brevyn Spann-Ford, who's more of your run block tight end, who has a very long wingspan. He could start making noise in Schottenheimer's offense. But the Dallas Cowboys have already decided Jake Ferguson is the security blanket for Dak Prescott, and he is going to be here for quite some time. Dad, what was your initial reaction to Ferguson getting paid? And to note, he didn't break the bank. He is the 7th highest paid tight end in the NFL right now. So by market standards, Jerry did get a good deal to secure him.
He did, and right now, and next year it'd probably be the 20th highest in pay. But what caught me off guard was the fact that it was Jake Ferguson was the first one signed, not DaRon Bland, not Micah Parsons, not Tyler Smith. But with Jake, he kind of fit the mold that they like.
Okay, how so?
He's coming back from an injury. He's proven that he can do it. He proved that 2 years ago that he's a talented Pro Bowl tight end. But he's coming back from a down year. Now, a down year could be the fact that he hurt his knee early on in the season and struggled with that throughout the rest of the year. It could be the simple fact that, he's Dak Prescott's security blanket, but he didn't have to be a security blanket for Dak Prescott. I'm sorry, Cooper Rush was a good bus driver. But Cooper Rush's forte and leading this offense, you could see the passing yards drop drastically from when it went from Dak down to Cooper Rush.
And especially not having a run game hurt that too.
It did. There's several factors that played into Ferguson having a down year. Again, the injury, Dak being gone. But one thing I kind of caught me was the length. This is a 4-year extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, now he's got 5 years with the team. Well, if you kind of look at it, you got 5 years with him, 5 years with Dak, 5 years with CeeDee.
You kind of lined up all the contracts.
With a coach. You're lining it up. You're hitting a window that, hey, we are at this window and we've got 5 years. If we don't do it, we may be looking at a full-scale reset for the whole team. So that's kind of, this is the window, guys. This is when we got to get it done. We're putting out money, and it'd be kind of weird to see how the other contracts that are coming up line up with that theory. Whether it's be DaRon Bland, Micah, Tyler Smith, do they line up and they say, look, this is the next 5 years and we're going to do this. we're going to try to keep the band together for the next 5. But if y'all can't get it done,
then we're moving on.
We're doing a hard reset.
One that stays status quo with the Jones family. They run these contracts for head coaches till they expire. Jason Garrett wasn't fired. He was just relieved. Mike McCarthy wasn't fired. He was just relieved. They couldn't come to deals, whether it was McCarthy's side or Jerry's side. And now you have Brian Schottenheimer, who might get his full tenure with Dallas, unless it's like an absolute train wreck. But I don't see it being based on how the players are responding. But what I do want to focus on with this window, Ferguson and Lamb and Prescott, well, what does this do for Luke Schoonmaker? What does this do for Brevyn Spann-Ford? Are they going to be a part of this team? We talked about Schoonmaker being more of a Mike McCarthy guy. Is Schoonmaker potentially on the trade block or could just go away in free agency? Is Brevyn Spann-Ford going to be a valuable asset on this team? And or is he just going to be a guy that we call on when somebody else is hurt?
Well, and right now, unfortunately, during the it wasn't a significant one, but I think it was like more of an ankle sprain, kind of like that Brevyn
Spann-Ford
suffered during the blue-white scrimmage the other day. Terrence Steele wasn't out there because of a high ankle sprain for the blue-white scrimmage. So, I mean, you do have the little injuries popping up here and there. When we talked about it yesterday about, some of the major injuries that are going on with the team. So, I mean, and I don't want to rehash all that, but, what does it mean for these guys? Schoonmaker had a really good came in. It seemed like he was coming into his own. But, he's on his rookie contract, and
he's got 2 years.
I don't think that, they could put him on the trade block, but, at what point, he's on a rookie contract. What point why would you want to get rid of him?
I mean,
what would you get in return?
If you ended up getting, I don't know if you could get this high, but if you could get a 3rd-round pick for him, and I know everybody's like, are you trading a 2nd-round pick for a 3rd-round pick? But if you got a 3rd-round pick for Schoonmaker, and I mean, day 1 and 2, those are starters. If Schoonmaker's going to be your backup tight end, if Brevyn Spann-Ford shows up and proves he's reliable, I mean, I could totally see a scenario where Schoonmaker's traded for a 3rd-round pick.
He might, but there again, or worse. I mean, he could be traded for a 4th or 5th. I wouldn't
go that low.
I wouldn't do it personally. I would keep the kid. I mean, it isn't like, as we're seeing on the offensive line. Yeah, we at one point we were like, wow, they really got a lot of that offensive line room is full. It's full. Who's going to, are we going to be trading somebody or something? Next thing you know, we're like, who the heck is playing tackle? Who's going to fill it out here? Who's going,
That's a big boy. He could suit up.
Yeah, I'm not conditioned to do that. I'm a big boy, but that ain't playing. But hey, if you want to let me, I'll sit on the bench for you. I'll sit there in the rooms all day long. You know that I'm all for moving to Dallas.
I was trying to help you out.
I know, but you see that, oftentimes what you think is excess. Next thing you know, injury or two here or there, and you're drowned. I mean, and then you've got to look at, okay, you got Hunter Lipke playing some tight end. You've got Austin Richards playing tight end in the jumbo packages. You got Adeniji playing tight end in the jumbo packages. You got, so you're putting some of your offensive linemen out there doing that, which gives you your better blockers. You got Spann-Ford, who is having a wonderful camp. I think he just had a little injury during the blue-white scrimmage with his ankle, and when he was down and he was kneeling over, I was begging, please God, don't let him be hurt. Don't let it be significant. And so, you've got those. But, I mean, I'm thinking 5 years. I'm thinking this is the window.
Well, if that's the window defined, who's going to be joining? Jake Ferguson as the next Cowboy getting some money. We're going to talk about that right after this commercial break on Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. Who's the next man up in the payroll? Welcome back to Dad and the Boys. Michael Davis, my dad, Mac. We just talked about Jake Ferguson's contract. If you want to read more, there's an article on ffsn.com right now talking about Jake Ferguson. I brought some points up, kind of what I was talking to my dad about with Brevyn Spann-Ford and Luke Schoonmaker. Maybe their futures are impacted by this extension. But what we have now is the focus being turned elsewhere. Now, we all thought Micah Parsons was going to be the next Cowboy signed. There's rumors that they haven't talked about contracts with Micah Parsons, but now there's rumors that they started negotiation with DaRon Bland. Now, what's very interesting of this, Dad, is Jerry Jones made comments about if we pay them, we don't know if they'll be available. And so you give Jake Ferguson a contract, and he was hurt last year, and you give DaRon Bland a contract, and he was hurt last year. Dad, I do not know why we're waiting on Micah Parsons. I know you like to defend Jerry Jones, and you try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but Dad, if there is any player we need to sign and keep happy, it's literally the Lion. It's your best player on the field, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. You have to pay the man. Like, what? Why?
Keep in mind two things. One, and foremost, Micah will be a Cowboy.
And we're not even talking about that. We're not even hinting at the idea he's gone.
He will be a Cowboy. The deal will be signed. When, I don't know. Some say that it'll be this week. Some say it'll be before the first preseason game. Some say that it'll be before we go to week 1 in Philly. I don't know when it's going to happen, folks, but I do know this. It will happen. I've got full faith in Jerry. He's not going to let Micah leave the Cowboys. Second of all, when you're talking Micah Parsons' contract and you're talking Jake Ferguson's contract,
those are two different things.
You're talking, this is going to be the top non-quarterback contract in the league.
At the time it's signed. Which is why I would have preferred.
Versus a team discounted contract by Jake Ferguson.
Which is why I kind of preferred Parsons to be signed before Steelers got TJ Watt.
And, and in all fairness to DaRon Bland, I know he's had a couple Pro Bowls in all-pro season, led the league in interceptions and stuff, but I do not see him setting the record. I do not see him being a market-setting cornerback contract. I do not. And if he does, I don't think that Jerry and Steven will play that. So, I think that, they're open for business. They've told everybody that. We're open for deals. If you think back about it, when Zeke was coming up on contract, what did they go and do?
They waited.
But who did they sign in the meantime? One of your favorite all-time Cowboys.
Alfred Morris.
Jalen
Smith.
And they said, well, we're open for business, folks. See this contract? And they did that. We're here. You just got to come to us. And they play that game. Now, it didn't necessarily work out for Jalen as well. Terrence Steele, they did that. We're open for a contract. If you're willing to take a cut, or play for a little bit less, then we're willing to take and work with you and get this thing done. Micah's contract is not in that. Even though he may not, technically, Micah has said throughout the offseason that he doesn't have to be the top paid person.
He will be.
His agents aren't saying that, by the way. We don't know what he's asking for. But if he come in and he said, hey, I'll play for $30,000 or $30 million or $35 million a year average, the contract be already signed and ain't. because they know that they're getting one heck of a bargain there. But that's probably not what's going to happen. So, I mean, therefore, those take a little bit longer. And you know, as the guy, one of the personalities that I'm high on in Dallas media specialties, Jeff
Kavanaugh.
He said that, you know, when you're talking about Dallas and their money, that, you know, when Jerry makes these contracts, he's okay with letting his money sit there in his bank account, drawing that interest that he's drawing. He knows he's going to pay it anyway. And folks say, well, he could save money. Really? No, he can't.
You can when it's structured in a salary cap, though.
You can save money
that you can allocate elsewhere.
But you see, what happens is okay. So if an owner sits there and says, I'm going to pay this person this, I'm going to give them top of the line. Well, then the next person comes in, the next person comes. And all of a sudden, before this contract runs out, this guy wants more money because now he's being paid like 10th best in the league, and he's still performing at the top. So, I mean, that happens a lot in the NFL and in sports in general. I mean, you know, it isn't playing out the contract. It's, we need to renegotiate the terms. And in fairness to the players, the owner often renegotiates the terms too and cuts you, but when you're not performing up to the level of the contract.
Yeah, contracts are, you know, as they're not written agreements. They're more like handshakes.
They're not like Moses. They're not like Moses and the 10 Commandments.
I mean,
but they're not chiseled in stone.
But Micah needs to be signed.
He does, and he will be. I mean, I don't know exactly when.
You got DaRon Bland, who might be re-signed. I would hold off on Bland personally. George Pickens, who knows if he wants to?
I think that'll be after the year.
I think Pickens might choose to test free agency. Brandon Aubrey might be closer to the end of the year. And then you have Tyler Smith, which honestly, Tyler Smith might be next year's Micah Parsons, just like Micah is last year's CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott.
Exactly. I mean, you know, it's and that's something that the Joneses have touched on. It's same old story. It's just different characters. Because I mean, it happens every year that somebody's got to be signed.
So if you had to put money right now as we close our show, who's the next person to get a contract?
Micah.
You think Micah?
I do.
I would hope it's Micah.
I mean, Bland may surprise me. Bland may come in and say, well, I'll pay for less and take that team discount to stay in Dallas. But I don't see him doing that. So I do think it'll be Micah.
Well, you think Micah. I want it to be Micah. I think it is DaRon Bland now that we're hearing that they're actually having negotiations. So that's at least a positive sign.
Well, and don't misinterpret it. They're talking to Micah's people. They're in negotiations. Those things have been ongoing. I don't think it'll be Pickens. I think Pickens will be next year at the earliest. They want to see how this is going to play out with him.
Especially with some of his antics in Pittsburgh, you know.
You've got to make sure that this is a good fit for the club and for him. And there again, Pickens, look, you seem like you're saying all the right things. You're doing all the right things while you're here. The team has embraced you. You may make more money elsewhere. This may be one of those where you do want to next year take a discount to stay in that right environment. And I mean, and this is a tribute to Schotty, the culture that he's building in this thing. And I know you're wanting to kind of wrap things up, but I do want to touch on this because this is something that the cast was talking about during the blue-white scrimmage the other day was, and Nate brought it out that, you know, this it's kind of like that Jimmy Johnson time frame when you watch Jimmy Johnson when he started the Dallas Cowboys and coaching it. He brought his staff that he had been with since like Oklahoma State and in Miami, a lot of them in Miami, and they were college coaches. So you've got that college atmosphere going on right now, and it kind of is what it feels like. Is the atmosphere in training camp is like the college team, the camaraderie there, the willingness to be a brotherhood, and that can lead to special things. And one thing that Nate talked about was that when they started winning Super Bowls in '92, the average age of the coaching staff was 44. You want to take a guess at what the average age of the coaching staff is right now?
Is it 44?
It is 44. So, I mean, there is the similarities in numbers and stuff. I mean, you see this stuff all the time. And this coaching staff is going, Tyler Smith says the goal is to win the Super Bowl. And everybody says, well, there is no way Dallas is finishing third in the division, if not fourth.
We're not finishing below the Giants.
But let me tell you something, folks. It's simple as this. I want to take you back 2 years real quick. Dallas won the NFC East, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did the Philadelphia Eagles do? They started out pretty hot, and then they just totally bombed and collapsed. They made the playoffs because they did so well at the beginning of the season, but they limped into the playoffs, and they struggled. They went back and they fixed some of their weaknesses, like their secondary. And the next year, you know what happens, and I'm not going to repeat it because it makes me want to throw up in my mouth. But you look at this team. They had injuries, and they struggled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those injuries have healed up for the most part. And they had some weaknesses. Offensive line, wide receiver. I'm sorry, and CeeDee Lamb is a great wide receiver, but CeeDee Lamb alone
was not enough.
And so they've addressed that with George Pickens. So they've addressed some of their weaknesses. I think this Jaden Blue, by the end of the season, we're going to be sitting there turning our heads. Sanders is looking good. Williams is looking good. Moffa's had some good runs in training camp.
Which I'll be dropping an article about our running backs on FFSN.
So, is it out of the question that we can win the Super Bowl? That we can strike lightning in a bottle? No. Look, Philadelphia did last year. I mean, it happens. You just got to have things go right for you. Maybe the other day was a good sign for us. We were sitting there in 1 minute. You were sitting over there looking at me, Dad, going, Dad, what do we do? And then within a span of 20 minutes, you was like, Dad, it's only 4 to 6 weeks, Dad. So, I mean, it isn't all dim and there is a ray of sign there in 5-year window.
But sign Micah.
And we will.
Just get it done. That's it. That's it.
Where
Get them done.
Cowboys Nation is. They're wanting it done and over with. And it's getting done. It's just, it ain't over with yet.
But what is over is this episode of Dad and the Boys on Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting. We appreciate you guys watching us, listening to us on this bonus Wednesday episode. We'll be back next week. And remember, this isn't our first rodeo. We'll catch you here next time.